you have a Bucs touchdown?
Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it's so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
One of those weird announcer jinxes. Here is Brady's pass. It's Gronkowski. Back again. The biggest tandem for touchdowns now in postseason history. The old Patriot teammates.
That was Jim Nantz on the call about a year ago as the Buccaneers went on to win the Super Bowl. And this is one of the last few days they will remain as reigning champions of the National Football League. Welcome into our live coverage here of the JP Peterson Show at Super Bowl 56 as we get you set for the Bengals and the Rams, which we haven't really talked a whole lot about this week because there's so much else going on, and we'll get into a little bit of the game breakdown today. We got a great guest list for you. First, we'll say hello to Nick Geddes back in our Tampa studios as I'm hanging out here in the Los Angeles Convention Center. Nick, how are you this morning?
I'm doing good, and I'm sure you're jealous of where I'm at right now compared to where you are.
Oh, I really am.
I know you get. I know that you're out with the celebrities and the athletes. I understand that, but you can't beat Tampa Bay. You know that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was, and I finally got to go to a legitimate Hollywood party last night, which I'll talk about in just a second. That was kind of fun. A little hobnobbing with a lot of the NFL stars last night. We got a great, speaking of star-studded, we have a great show for you today, all lined up. Really, really good stuff. Some great topics to get into. Headlined by our good friend Derrick Brooks, Pro Football Hall of Famer, who will join us live at 11 o'clock, and we'll get the lowdown on what he thinks about where this Buccaneers team is heading, who will be the next quarterback, and talk about the Super Bowl as well as reminisce a little bit about the first time the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl. We also have Solomon Wilcots will join us from Pro Football Focus, also SiriusXM. We did this interview yesterday. Some of you may have seen it on social media. Very, very interesting discussion we had regarding Tom Brady and the Buccaneers and the turmoil that word keeps coming up, a rift, if you will, a rift between Brady and the coaching staff, i.e. Bruce Arians. And it's just a very, very interesting discussion. And we're not going to blow this out of proportion, folks. These things happen in every locker room, in every franchise around the NFL. But I do think it's interesting. There's definitely some smoke here. And what that had to do with Brady's, what I might say is an abrupt retirement. We'll talk about it. It's just a very, very interesting situation. After you hear the interview, we'll kind of piece it all together. There were some other comments that have been made. Obviously, Levante David talked about the turmoil within the room this year. Seth Wickersham talking about, the how much harder it was this year. And you'll hear Solomon's comments as well. I think very, very interesting. Put some light onto that. Mike Golic will join us of Mike and Mike Iconic fame, and his brother Bob Golic will also join the show today. So a couple of interviews we did yesterday talking about actually Mike did the Rams Bucs game as a sideline reporter. We'll be doing the same for the Super Bowl as well. So we'll get his take on this Super Bowl and kind of look back on the Rams Bucs games. Got some interesting takes on that as well. Leo Haggerty will join us as well. We hope to have Scott Reynolds on. We're still confirming that. So we got a jam-packed show for you coming up, and we'll get to all the topics. Of course, I think the biggest topic of conversation, Nick, I know you've been hitting people up on social media on this, is Ronde Barber does not make it into the Hall of Fame last night. But, and if you were listening to the show yesterday, we told you that was the most likely scenario. John Turney joined us yesterday from the Pro Football Journal, Hall of Fame historian, and said, the numbers didn't look good for Ronde this year. But once you get it, he did finish in the top 10, as John predicted yesterday. And that means almost assuredly that he will be in the Hall of Fame before his 10 years of consideration are up. So that's good. But Nick, I saw you put out some tweets on this as well. When you look at Leroy Butler's numbers compared to Ronde's, they're not even close, really. So I wonder how the voters differentiated between Leroy Butler, who was more of a let's say more of a traditional safety, as opposed to Ronde, who was, of course, considered a nickel corner, but always started on the outside when the Bucs started in base defense.
Yeah, I mean, I got a lot of respect for Leroy Butler's game, and I know you got a lot of admiration. You covered him at Florida State, right?
Yeah, great guy, great leader, tremendous.
And,
it's not, yeah.
What was the one play? You know more than me of the history here. Was it the punt Ruski? Was he involved?
Yes, the punt Ruski.
That was
Leroy
he was
Butler. The one. Yeah, he was the one who took the ball from Dane Williams between Dane Williams' legs. The ball was hiked to Dane Williams, the fullback, and then actually he put it on the ground. And then Leroy came and picked it up and went the other way and got down to the 3-yard line. Didn't score on the play. Got down to the 3-yard line, and Richie Andrews kicked it to win that game at Clemson. That was the game where Deion Sanders brought the punt, went down the sideline. Yeah. I was there that day. It was a very, very muddy day in Clemson, and Deion literally walked the length of the sideline, walking by Danny Ford, the entire Clemson bench, on his way to get in position to receive the punt. The Noles couldn't do anything on offense. And I think had Deion not gone by Danny Ford and taunted him, they may have kicked it away from him. But since he taunted him, the idiot kicked it to him. He ran it back, and then they did the punt Ruski. But I digress. Leroy Butler, lots of respect for him.
I do think, though, what the NFL Hall of Fame is doing, and frankly, I don't agree with it, but they're making these guys wait until they get longer into their tenures on this ballot, clearly. I mean, a lot of these guys, like Sam Mills, goes in on his final year on the ballot. Leroy Butler's been on the ballot for a long time. Tony Boselli, a lot of these guys. I'm not saying they shouldn't be Hall of Famers, but when you compare, and the two ones that I had the gripes with were Ronde and Leroy Butler, because Ronde revolutionized that nickel position. It wasn't no longer a position where you just shove your third corner to. You had to do a lot of things. And frankly, Leroy Butler, they're so different. They're such different players. I just felt like Ronde did more and was more impactful and had the Super Bowls and everything to go with it. I know Leroy did too in Green Bay, but I think Ronde was more accomplished. And then Sam Mills going in. I mean, if you compare Sam Mills' numbers next to Zach Thomas, I don't see what we're looking at here. I really don't know what we're looking at here. And that's another guy, Zach Thomas, that is going to wait for a while here to get in. But going back to Ronde, I fear for next year because Darrelle Revis is coming on the ballot. And Darrelle Revis is probably going in first ballot because he was that cover-to-cover corner, Revis Island. He's going to go in before Ronde. So I don't even know if it's going to be next year, but we might be waiting till the year after that. But I think it's 90%, to your point, of finalists eventually get in. So it'll happen at some point, but it just seems they're playing the long game with a lot of these guys. Yeah,
it does seem that way because and numbers, you can't obviously, compare numbers apples to apples. It's just different, different positions demand different things. But as a safety, I think Leroy had 37 picks and Ronde had 47 picks. So, I mean, it just, I don't know. But a lot of this has to do with notoriety, how popular players were, frankly. And we want to definitely dispel this misnomer. There's been a lot of hate on social media for Ira Kaufman, who does the presenting, that maybe they should replace him or he's getting too old. Listen, I'm here to tell you, we had Sal Palantonio on this show, a couple of weeks ago, right, Nick? Mm-hmm. And he said, and Sal's been in the room for, 25 years in that Hall of Fame room, listening to all the presenters. And he said, bar none, Ira Kaufman is the best. I mean, anybody who's heard Ira talk, he's a very, with that Brooklyn accent, JP, let me tell you something about Ronde Barber. Let me tell you, he is, without question, a Hall of Famer. No question, JP, right? Yeah, I mean, you can't help but listen. And he's very well respected in the room. This has much more to do with the fact that, as John Turley told us yesterday, that, he got Lynch in, he got Sapp in, he got Brooks in, he got Dungy in. I mean, he's like 4 for 4, really. And at some point, I think some of the other voters are like, okay, we hear you, but we're just going to wait a little while. You got the other guys in, and Lynch, took a little while to get in. So without question, Ira is not the problem. It's not the problem. And I think, Ronde will get in good due time. If he doesn't get in, it's a travesty. If he has to wait, it's okay. It's okay. And I think Ronde would, if he was on the show today, would tell you the same exact thing. But it's got to be a little frustrating.
Yeah. No, I do feel, though, this Hall of Fame class, when you look at it as a whole, is this like the most tame class that you've seen?
It's underwhelming.
I mean, I'm just saying, I could probably build a better class from the guys who didn't make the Hall of Fame this year. You could debate it. You really could debate it. There's not a lot of I mean, these guys are Hall of Famers. I get it, but there's not a lot of star power, if you would. I mean, compared to last year when we're putting in Peyton Manning and Charles Woodson and John, it's completely different. But, I guess congratulations to the guys who are there. I'm not trying to diminish these guys' careers by any means, but obviously a lot of them I didn't see play. You did. But
I'll say this about these guys, and to your point, all of them had waited a long time. For Baselli, it was his 16th year of eligibility. For Mills, his 20th year of eligibility. For Butler, his 16th year of eligibility. And for Bryant Young, his 10th year of eligibility. So, these guys have to wait. And nobody's sitting here saying that, Ronde Barber is a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's not. Is he a seventh ballot? Is he an eighth ballot, ninth, whatever it is? I think eventually he'll get in. Being in the top 10, I think almost assures it, as you said, 90%. So it'll take some time. But as we mentioned, you go back to the Steel Curtain defense, they had 4 Hall of Famers. And when you look back at this one, you kind of make the case that they're going to have 5 if you add in Coach Tony Dungy, who really was he and Monty Kiffin, the architect of the Tampa 2. So with Lynch and Sapp and Brooks, and if Ronde gets in and Tony Dungy as well, that's 5 from that team that would definitely be considered part of that defense. So it'll be some time till Ronde gets in. All right. Other NFL news last night, not unexpected that Brady did not win the MVP. It went to Aaron Rodgers. Although, I mean, again, look at the numbers. Brady's numbers were superior. I mean, this has kind of been a fait accompli for quite some time since the All-Pro team was announced. It's usually follow suit with the quarterback, but I still don't. Can somebody make the case why Rodgers was the choice over Brady?
How irrelevant did the MVP look last night and Aaron Rodgers? It felt as little as a deal as it's ever felt, in my opinion. It really did. I mean, what if you asked anybody in the Packers and you asked Aaron Rodgers, was it a successful season? What's their answer? No.
And this is the third time in the last 4 years that he's lost a playoff game at home.
Yeah, and I thought I heard this the other day from, I believe it was Colin Cowherd, and I love this. It's been since 1999 that a player has won the MVP and a Super Bowl in the same year. Seriously.
Really?
That was Kurt Warner in 1999. So what's the word does the word valuable mean anything here? Seriously. I'm not advocating for you to give it to somebody that's in the Super Bowl every year, but I'm just saying, if you want to get technical here, the real MVP of this league is Joe Burrow. If you want to put the word valuable behind it.
I don't think there's any question about that. I mean, you look at where would the Packers be without Aaron Rodgers? Not much. We get it. But I mean, my gosh, where would the Bengals be without Joe Burrow?
And that's why I don't understand why you don't take the postseason into account. And going further, Cooper Kupp just won the Triple Crown at receiver, almost 2,000 yards. He's the most valuable player on the Rams, in my opinion. Yeah. You got a single vote. Yeah. Think about that.
Yeah, this could just be construed as a quarterback award now, kind of like the Heisman.
Yeah.
It's just, it's not.
The fact that Aaron Rodgers is going to have more MVPs in his career than Tom Brady, I mean, that's laughable to me. Laughable to me. And Tom Brady, by the way, never won an MVP during his Super Bowl winning seasons, which is hard to believe as well.
Yeah, really. Brady threw for almost 1,000 more yards than Rodgers did. That's not insignificant. And people look to the lack of interceptions, by Rodgers. But I mean, if you're throwing for 1,000 yards less, that's a lot less throws and a lot less chances that you're taking to avoid the interception.
What did we say in the postseason? The reason why Aaron Rodgers is not in the game right now is because he doesn't take chances, and that's why he doesn't throw a lot of interceptions. That's great to a point, but if you want to know why Aaron Rodgers hasn't won anything in over a decade, you could point to the fact that he's almost too safe with the ball.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
So I don't understand how you're just going to give the MVP award away to somebody who had the best touchdown to interception ratio. Like, we're doing that now?
Yeah,
I don't agree.
Yeah, I agree 100%. All right, the Lightning last night back in action for the first time in 9 days. Very entertaining game against the Avalanche last night. I watched some of the highlights, and boy, that's first goal. And welcome back, Nikita Kucherov, by the way. The Kucherov point goal was absolute Picasso. I mean, it was a masterpiece. And it's just, And again, every time Kucherov steps on the ice, it's just complete magic. I think we have some audio of that goal last night. Let's hear how the boys called it.
Nice move by Kucherov to Point. Back to Kucherov. They score! Point to Kucherov. They are back, and it's 2-1.
They made the adjustment.
That's Brian Engblom there on the call. Dave Randorf.
Everybody comes back. They pick them apart. Two of the best players in the league at doing it. Kucherov and Point. Give and go, and it ends up a slam dunk empty netter. That's how you have to pick apart this overly confident, I think, right now, Colorado team on the forecheck. Now it got their attention. Now things are starting to even out a little bit. Come back like that. Come up together. Move the puck. Move your feet. You'll have the puck, and they'll be chasing you.
Brian Engblom on the call there, and Dave Randolph from Valley Sports. Thank them for that. What a goal. I mean, that was just pure magic, the give and go and the give and go. I mean, just that is Point and Kucherov to a T. As the Avalanche came out, I mean, they came out fast and hard, outshot the Lightning 24-10 in the first period. Yikes. But they got it back to 2-1.
Yeah, a lot of shots. I mean, I think 47 shots for the Avalanche, 38 for the Lightning. I mean,
yeah.
Defense was optional last night. Both goalies, though, were really good, obviously, with only 5 goals given up combined. But, I mean, those might be the 2 best teams in the National Hockey League, you could argue.
I think so.
I mean, really. I mean, if you put I know the Lightning lost, but that was hockey at its best level last night. Like, superly entertaining, especially at 9 o'clock. I couldn't turn it off.
Yeah, I think, and nothing else to watch, really. Unless you want to pay attention to the James Harden trade and the NBA. Or the Olympics. Yikes. It was that was a thing of beauty. The game last night had a lot of intensity to it, and I'll take that. I'll take that final. I mean, think about the first game they had, that went to the 6 rounds of shootouts.
Yeah.
Like I said it back then, give me 7 games of this in the final, everybody's happy. But obviously Florida, Carolina may have something to say about that. So we'll see, but I'll take that, no doubt. And the second goal, another thing of beauty, great stretch pass from Sergachev, and Braden Point put the biscuit in the basket.
Locked, goes off a skate, stretch pass up to Point. Here comes Point. He's in, scores! What a goal by Braden Point! A beauty here in the Mile High City, and it's 3-2.
Not many guys could have pulled this off. He comes off the bench, but he has to hesitate at the blue line and then go 0 to 60 as fast as he can. The 2 defensemen from the Lightning have to turn and go, but they have some momentum. But look at Sergachev's awareness to put it right on the tape. But Braden Point steps on the gas, and then at high speed, watch these hands. I mean, this is magnificent. Go to his forehand, fake like he's going to make a move, and boom, boom, right up under the bar. That is unstoppable, folks.
Great piece of skill right there from Sergachev and Braden Point. Well described there by Brian Engblom. That made it 3-2, and the Lightning pulled Vasi with 3:19 left to go. Got about 15 shots on goal, not on goal, but attempts. It was a frenetic last 3.5 minutes, but the Avalanche hold on for the 3-2 win. But one hell of a hockey game. All right, let's listen into John Cooper, who had some thoughts after this very entertaining game.
Pace and the layoff you guys had, what kind of adjustments do you feel you guys made to towards the end?
Well, we sped our game up. I mean, I don't think we got to play it any slower to start. And I think we went backwards more than we went forwards, and really fed into their game. And sure enough, they're up 2-0. And that's where the game was the difference. When we sped our game up, we were on top, and we were working. We were skating. We were fine. We were more than fine. But, we gave those guys that, first 10 to 12 minutes, and in the end, it cost us.
Derrick, go ahead.
You say you started slow. Was it slow feet or slow minds, or was it both? Because it looked like there were opportunities where you were kind of frozen with the tough decisions.
Judge yourself. You watched it. We're way better than that. We know it. The last 50 minutes we were fine. It was we should have come out a little better than we did.
Go ahead, Joe. What do you think of Sergachev tonight? It seems like he's really active, he can take shots and play a lot of minutes. Like, do you think it could be kind of a boost for him to have a game like this?
boost for him. I don't know. I think he's been like that pretty much all year. He's a hell of a defenseman. He's jumping up in plays. He's making plays. He's defending. To me, like games like this, that shouldn't be a surprise.
Derrick, go ahead.
Yeah, the switch you made there, putting Joseph back up with Stamkos and corner, moving Sorelli down, looked like it kind of sparked both lines a little bit. Did you get the expected results out of that?
We did. I don't like the moving up and down. That's probably not a term you should use. I need Tony to negate, one of their big lines, and he did. But that was with the help of Colton and Radish. So, it's hard to sit here and say moving them up and down. But I thought they were a big part of, why we came back.
Do you want more, Joe?
Yeah, sorry, Don. I didn't mean I was surprised by Sergio. I just know he played well tonight, so I was just asking that. But in a game like this, you didn't get the result you wanted to have, but these kind of games kind of fun to coach in. The finish you guys had, 2 elite teams. I think Brady mentioned there was like a buzz in the building, even for February. Those kind of fun ones to be part of.
Well, they're not fun when you don't win. So, are you jacked up while the game is going on? Sure. The one thing that I've noticed and we've noticed as a group in the last year is everybody, we're getting everybody's A game. And for the most part, we've kind of know that's coming, but you play a team like this, they knew who they were playing, and they played like it in that first 12 minutes. And by the time we got our legs going, we were close. We have chances to tie that one up, but that's 2 elite teams, but when you're getting everybody's best all the time, and are they fun to be a part of? For sure, but it's no fun being on this end of it. But it would be great to see him again.
It's John Cooper after last night's 3-2 loss to the Avalanche, and the Lightning will be back at it tonight in back-to-backs, and maybe I don't know if Fassy's going to play, or we'll see Brian Elliott. We'll see, but hell of a hockey game.
It is Arizona. I don't know where are we playing in Arizona. Are we playing in their arena?
The high school, I think.
The high school.
High school. Yeah, I think that's where they're playing. Yeah.
We think we got it bad in Tampa. My goodness.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
And speaking of venues, you talked a little bit about this at the end of the show yesterday. Rob Manfred, commissioner, came out and affirmed Major League Baseball's commitment to the Tampa Bay market. Something that we've been saying for a long, long time, even through this whole sister city scheme that we knew was never going to work, is that this is a major league city. This is not a sister city. There's the 11th largest market. The population is exploding. As Ken Hagan came on and told us about a month ago that they expect another 400,000 to 500,000 people to move into Hillsborough County proper within the next 5 years, bringing the total of people within a 30-minute drive to 2.4, maybe 2.5 million people in downtown Tampa, as opposed to 670, maybe 700,000 at the most in St. Petersburg. And, I think, judging from social media, which you can never really judge much, but I think some people have taken me for an anti-St. Pete person here when it comes to the stadium. And this is not that at all. St. Pete is a wonderful, wonderful place of great restaurants and art scene and tremendous downtown area, much better than Tampa, by the way. And the beaches and everything else that is Pinellas it's great. It would even be great for a football stadium, to be quite honest, because that's a thing where you only go on the weekends for the most part. And that's never been a problem really for Tropicana Field. People go on the weekends when they have the extra time to drive. But for a baseball stadium that has to support 81 games, it just does not work. That's why Major League Baseball has that guideline, if you will, or rule for stadiums that you have to have at least 1.2 million people within that 30-minute drive. It just doesn't work, and that's a huge reason why it hasn't worked for so long. So I don't know why St. Pete folks get so this almost like this inferiority complex when they should not have one. I say this a lot because I moved here. I moved to Tampa Bay in '97, and I know talking to Christopher Palermo, our title sponsor. he's a 5-generation Tampanian. He grew up and his families grew up when there was this big rivalry across the Bay. And to me, this is just one big area. And, Pinellas and St. Pete, it's beautiful for the beach areas and the art scene and the restaurants, all those things I mentioned. The pier, just fantastic. And that's that strength of that side of the Bay. And, whereas Hillsborough is, the main place for the airport, for major commerce centers, most of the businesses, most of the, the stadiums, the football stadium, the hockey arena, and obviously where the baseball stadium should be as well. I never really understood this some sort of equity argument. Well, you have these two things, we should have this thing. That makes no sense. It should be located where it's best for the entire region. There's really no equity in something like this. You have to have it where it's going to work. That's the important part when you're talking about a location of a stadium. So, and for some reason, so many people, get provincial about this. And, you can't use redevelopment money from the Trop to build a stadium in Tampa. I'm like, okay. If the Rays get money from that redevelopment, then let's say that money goes to the payroll and not the stadium. Do you feel better now? I mean, it's semantics when you're talking about what the money is used for. The Rays are going to get some money anyway, pre-2027. If they will not get any redevelopment rights after 2027. That's how the lease works. But if they move out earlier, then that's going to be negotiated between the city, what the exit fee is going to be, and what their development rights will be in the Trop. And of course, the Rays last go round demanded 100% proceeds for 60% of the land, which is a ridiculous request, and they're holding up the development of Tropicana Field, that site, the redevelopment. So, we just need to move forward with all of it. And, Manfred coming out and affirming Tampa Bay as a major league market is a great thing. And he also talked about the sense of urgency to get it done. And I think very much so, he was speaking to the owner, go get it done. And where it's going to be done is on the Tampa side. And when Manfred talks about it, he always says Tampa. But again, I don't understand for the life of me why St. Petersburg residents who have had a chance to support baseball for 20 years and haven't done it still make these arguments. It doesn't make any sense to me. To you, Nick?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. We've been over this so many times, and we talk about it a lot. I just don't understand why you're even looking at St. Pete for an option. I just feel like that's just doing it the same way you've done it. It's not going to change anything. I mean, you had a great soundbite last week. It doesn't matter how pretty it looks. It's not going to change anything. It's not going to change anything. And you smartened me up on why Ybor really is the only location to go after in this area. And I believe that probably ownership has bought into that idea. We'll see if it's better this time around. I know I read some of the quotes from Manfred again and from yesterday, speaking with Topkin, or there at the meetings rather. And he seemed to really be more encouraged, I guess. Of course, this is all talk. We'll see what happens. But yeah, if it's going to work, it's going to be in Tampa. That's just the premise of what we're saying. That's it. If you get anything out of it, that's what we're saying. It has to be in Tampa.
Yeah, and for St. Pete residents, take pride in what you do have, and the fact that you can redevelop that site into a tremendous commerce center, convention center, which will be much more profitable for the city and bring in more tourists than say baseball would. So St. Pete doesn't need the Rays, and if you're a politician, if you're Mayor Welch, then you do what the mayor in Atlanta basically said, oh, you want to move and it's not going to cost me anything, but you're still going to stay in the market. Fine. Go ahead, Braves, move. That's great. That's what's best for the region. Move closer to your fan base, where most of your fan base is. That's a great regional approach. Trying to keep the team for some provincial reason, it just doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And it makes no economic sense whatsoever for St. Pete to throw $1 billion into a stadium that's going to fail because of its location.
Yeah, and if you build it, to me, if you build it in St. Pete, and you might know the area a little bit better than me down there in Miami, but I've been to the stadium once, but not aware of my area there. But from where I remember it being located, it's not anywhere near where like the fan base. It's kind of like out in the outskirts, right?
What, the Marlins Stadium?
Yeah.
No, well, their original stadium was
where they are now. Where they
are now is actually down in Little Havana, where the Orange Bowl used to be, but that doesn't serve the majority of families, more family-oriented population in Broward and West Palm County. I mean, Broward would have been a much more central location for the baseball stadium than South Miami, because you're cutting off, so many people in Broward, and it's basically the same thing we've done with Tropicana Field.
Yeah,
you're putting it on the edge of the market instead of the middle of the market.
That's my point, really. You don't want to be Miami and build a nice, beautiful ballpark, because it is a really nice ballpark, and it's a shame that it gets even less attendance than the Rays do. You don't want to be like that. You do not want to be like that. And I fear if you do it in St. Pete, you're going down that same rabbit hole again.
Yeah, I mean, Miami actually moved the stadium to a worse location than when they were, because where the Dolphins played is much more accessible to Broward County. It's right on the county line. Whereas, you've moved it down into downtown Miami, which makes it much less accessible, especially with traffic for the huge population centers of Broward and West Palm. It's like, it would be like, it'd be like moving the Trop to the waterfront. Like, you're still in a bad location, and you're making it less accessible in a bad location. So, well, everybody, looks at it and says, oh, wow, look how pretty it would be. And right there with the Albert Whitted Airport right on the water. Oh, it'd be magnificent. Yeah. And it'd be empty. So, not a great idea. All right, we'll take our first break. When we come back, we're going to listen to our interview with Solomon Wilcots, and very interesting take on what was going on with Brady and the offense and the Bucs coaching staff. So we'll listen to that and discuss when we come back live to the Super Bowl here, Radio Row in Los Angeles. Stay with us. Hey, folks, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center, a very different kind of approach to primary care. Personalized preventative medicine, not a one-pill-fits-all mentality. Christopher Lugo and his experienced medical staff are proactive in looking at issues before they become a problem, encouraging a healthy lifestyle with proper diet, supplements, and exercise to optimize your active lifestyle. Rather than the impersonal, rushed approach, you will be the only patient and will have our full attention. That's true. Getting old is inevitable, but feeling and looking old is avoidable. Bay Area Modern Medical Centers are experts in anti-aging regenerative medicine that optimizes your body's performance in many areas. So call for an appointment to get started on a journey back to full health and a happy life with a new, modern way of healthcare. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com. JP here for my friend, attorney Christopher Palermo. If you are having issues with a claim on your homeowner's insurance from a sinkhole, storm damage, water intrusion, defective stucco, and construction defect, or any other issue, Christopher is your man. These big insurance companies didn't get rich paying out what you deserve. Chris founded his practice in 2009 with a passion to help all Floridians with disputes where they're forced on the powerful and needed a champion in their corner. Chris wants to make sure you will receive the most aggressive and compassionate representations. He has recovered millions in settlements on behalf of his clients facing defective stucco damage and other construction issues. So call Chris, mention the JP Show, and he will give you a free consultation. That's 813-221-5636 or go to PalermoPA.com. He's a fifth-generation Tampanian graduate of Jesuit High School and the University of Florida, and he cares deeply about you and the community. That's 221-5636 or PalermoPA.com. Homeowners, listen up. Property values have risen in the Tampa Bay area to record levels, some up to 24% in 1 year. It's time to refinance your home and pull out the equity before rates go through the roof. Call my man Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Scott believes interest rates will be over 5 very soon due to the volatile economy and inflation, but you can still lock in the mid-3s, but not for long. This means you can save tens of thousands of dollars over the life of your loan. Now, Scott is an independent broker, so he can shop your mortgage around for the best rates, and he will pay for your appraisal if you mention you heard it here on the JP Show. That's a $500 to $700 value. Scott does not charge the huge upfront fees like the big banks do. In this uncertain economy and political climate, better to have cash in hand now. Call Scott at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here live at Super Bowl 56 from Los Angeles, the only live host here doing sports talk in Tampa Bay area. Also want to thank our sponsors, the Golden Diamond Source. Do we have a Golden Player of the Week, Nick Geddes? Do you want to throw one out this week? We haven't had a whole lot of local sports going on, but if we had a little lightning game last night, we could give it to Kucherov.
I'm gonna give it to Kucherov because that play was sweet.
That was
just
sweet.
That play alone.
Well, there you go. The Golden Diamond Source. And by the way, Valentine's Day is coming up Monday, kids. Nick, have you gotten your girl something for Valentine's Day, your fiance? You better have. The Golden Diamond Source is the place to get it. Is the place to get it. If you've got they got the gift card match going on, and of course they have the best selection. So if you're thinking of popping the question, you better go get the ring like quick, because it's coming up. By the way, but how about a gift? That's a great idea as well. To go to Diamond Source, they've got a great selection. Any budget at all, they'll bring you in, show you what they got, and great value. And the great part about the Golden Diamond Source, you buy anything there. If you buy a diamond, you can bring it back anytime, get 100% of the value of that diamond if you want to upgrade as well. So, if you give her a gift and she says it's the diamonds aren't big enough, you can go back and get your money's worth, get something bigger, and learn a hard lesson. But it's the Golden Diamond Source. That's the place to go. 3800 Ulmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. All right. Yesterday we had a chance to sit down with our good friend Solomon Wilcots, who of course played for the Bengals in their last Super Bowl and longtime analyst on SiriusXM. Very plugged into all the teams in the NFL, the Buccaneers as well, has some great sources. So let's listen in on that conversation. All right, welcome back to Super Bowl 56. Joining me here, the great Solomon Wilcots. You heard him on our show all last year, and it was so great to have you on. Thank you. It's good to see you in person, first of all.
Yeah,
Solomon.
I know, right?
Yeah, you played with the Bengals for 4 years. You played in that 88 Super Bowl game, and Biotricity is who you're here with. We'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, how awesome is this for the city of Cincinnati and these Bengals to be going to the Super Bowl, man?
Well, first of all, it's great to be on with you because you and I spent a lot of time together talking about Tampa Bay Buccaneers and kind of enjoying that ride on the way to them winning a Super Bowl just 1 year ago.
Yeah.
And now here my team is in. Cincinnati Bengals again. No one saw this one coming. And so we're just like in the city, everyone is sort of on cloud nine. And if they didn't believe, if there was any Bengals fans who just couldn't believe it, now, you got Joe Burrow now. He's come to town. He has told us this is the new standard, that we're going to be doing this from here on out. And so now everyone is a believer in Joe Burrow and the Bengals.
What is it about Joe? I mean,
yeah.
I'm sure you've chatted with him. I mean, from afar, he's just got something. He's got the it factor. I know that sounds cliche.
Yeah.
Can you put it into words what this cat's got?
Yeah, he's got obviously the work ethic. Yeah. He's very bright in terms of from the neck up. The guy has a tremendously high football IQ. A lot of people don't know he played in a pro-style system at LSU. He was doing all the things. When you saw him on the way to winning a national championship, the way he was operating within that offense, he was operating in a full-fledged NFL offense, all the checks, all the protections, okay, all the hot routes that you're expected to do. Now, he was surrounded by some great talent, but that allowed them to elevate the offense and give him more things, put more on his plate. And so now that he came into the NFL, it's exactly what Zach Taylor did. You go back to his rookie season, he attempted 41 passes per game. Only lasted 10 games because he got beat up and blew out his knee. But Zach Taylor said that he treated Joe Burrow, understanding his background. He said, I did for him what I would have wanted a coach to do for me. Zach Taylor was the offensive player of the year in the Big 12 playing at Nebraska, the quarterback position. So he kind of treated him the way he would want to be treated. Now, you have to have a special skill set, real smart player to do that. But he put everything on the plate of Joe Burrow year one as a rookie. And so this guy has just proven that he can handle. So the more that he shows the coaches he could do, the more they're putting on his plate. And that's how he's been able, I think, to change a franchise.
Well, now the big question is, can he do it in the Super Bowl? And
right.
9 sacks against the Titans. This cat just keeps getting up.
Yeah.
He keeps playing with incredible composure.
Good
so we
point.
all know what the Bengals' liabilities are, this offensive line, but it doesn't seem to matter with Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
But this defensive line, as I saw in person,
it's the best. He's
going.
Yeah.
This is a different deal.
It's phenomenal. And to your point about Joe, he seems to be able to rise above the circumstance. Most quarterbacks are only as good as the situation and the players around them. And if that situation isn't good, they're not going to be good.
Right.
He plays above expectation. And what do I mean by that? The numbers bear it out. He led the league in yards per pass attempt. He also led the league in completion percentage, which is hard to do.
Yeah.
Throw the ball further down the field and complete passes at a tremendously high rate, while also being the most sacked quarterback in the league.
It doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up. So that tells you about this intestinal fortitude.
Yeah.
And the way that I've been describing it to people, going all the way back to the middle of the season, he reminds you of a Brett Favre, of a Ben Roethlisberger, and that this is a quarterback, and there are very few of them, that doesn't mind getting his jersey dirty. Like the more he gets his jersey dirty and get knocked to the ground, the more he embraces the fact that he's in a football game.
Yeah.
So he plays the game, I think, with a different mentality than most quarterbacks. These are rare guys. But if you go back and remember the career of Brett Favre, if you knock Brett down, all you did was piss him off.
You poked the bear.
You poked the bear. You didn't hurt him. Yeah, he's not going to flinch and run in fear.
No.
Some quarterbacks do now. They come up chucking and ducking. That ain't Joe Burrow. Guy, he's meant to play the game. And I was listening to his dad the other day. He said, Joe's got older brothers and he's got a dad. And he said, and all of us played on defensive side of the ball. He grew up around a lot of defensive players. So when he used to watch tape, it was kind of like the mentality of a defensive guy playing on offense. And so he knows how to read those defenses, but he comes to the game playing his position, I think, with a defensive mentality and that of maybe a linebacker.
Yeah. Solomon Wilcots joining us, played for the Bengals in that Super Bowl in '88. Also Pro Football Focus, SiriusXM, NFL Radio. Got to ask you about the other side now. Matthew Stafford. This Rams team is just phenomenal. They blew out the Bucs for the most part in that game, and a great comeback. But they looked so good. I think they outcoached the Bucs in that game. Give me a little something on that particular game. What you saw?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Rams kept the Bucs in it with 4 fumbles, right? Yeah. And next thing you know, Tom got what I loved about Tom, because they couldn't protect them against this group. And we're going to talk about that later in terms of how the Bengals plan on blocking Aaron Donald and Von Miller and Leonard Floyd. I know the Bucs couldn't that day. I thought Tristan Wirfs' injury almost was the last straw of a lot of things the Bucs had to deal with this year.
Yeah, but they put Josh Wells in there who was injured instead of moving Kappa out.
They could have done some things differently. That's right.
I think that was a bad mistake.
Listen, I think structurally, the Bucs, I mean, from a coaching standpoint, to your point, there are a lot of missed things could have done better this season.
Coaches
both on
bad days.
That's right. On offense and defense now. And then to not jam Cooper Kupp, you're going 0 blitz and not even jam Cooper Kupp and give him free access to the deep parts of the field. Yeah. No, and that's the guy Stafford wants to throw it to.
You played safety. You when if that call came into you'd be like,
I would have been like, hey, wait a minute. But I would have definitely just got depth on the play. He had just completed a 20-yard pass on the previous play to guess who? Cooper Kupp. Yeah. So everybody saw this coming. Todd Bowles, and listen, I'm sure they're in there watching the tape of that one, and they're like, we screwed it up. And what I mean by this, by coaches' job to put the players in the best position possible to make plays.
Right.
And there were times on offense, and certainly in that case on defense, they did not put the defensive players in the best possible position to make plays.
And they were so good against the Eagles. I know different teams.
Oh,
up-tempo, no huddle.
Yeah.
And against the Rams, I'm like, they should definitely do that to tire out that defensive line. They never did it. Very strange. I know Tony Romo mentioned that on the podcast as well. Yeah.
And I think when it was all said and done, you think Tom Brady's retirement, listen, I know he's going through his own process, but on the scale had to be how this season had to be more tiring.
Yeah.
It had to be more worrisome because by the end, remember last year, they let Tom do Tom.
Yeah.
They gave him everything he did. He needed to run what he wanted. Yeah. Now it's as if at the end of the year, they're taking it all back. They're doing things differently offensively, not allowing Tom to have complete control. Hey, let's try this. Let's do this. It had to be tiresome for him.
Well, we've heard these stories, and we're not going to go into all the details. You and I have talked about this, but there was something there. You know, Ethan David, there was turmoil. Jeff Jam confident on it. Brady said it was harder in the building.
It was harder.
People knew. You've heard the same things. So that's why I say maybe Brady isn't done. Maybe this is Brady's message to the Bucs. It says, look, We're either going to do it my way or we're not going to do it.
Well, they let him
anything
do
to
it his
that?
way, and he won him a championship. You would think that would
Hello?
that would be like money in the bank. That
Yeah.
buys you equity
You would
to
think.
get more of your way than someone stepping in and saying, "No, let's not do that." What do you mean? Let's not do that. We've already proven it works. So listen, I always enjoyed watching Tampa. I love Bucks. Love the way it all came together. In year 2, it should have been easier,
Right.
not harder.
Not harder. I totally agree. Solomon Wilcots joining us here. So tell me about the '88 Super Bowl. I mean, Super Bowls are great for history, right?
Yeah.
And then the Bengals come back and we relive those days. Talk about that one, and then the drought and what this means for the city of Cincinnati.
Yeah, in '88, I remember we start the season. Paul Brown, he was the owner. He was alive then. He stepped in front of us at our very first meeting in training camp and said, "You guys don't realize how good you are. You are a phenomenal team." The year before was a strike year. We had huge leads, lost a lot of those leads, lost a lot of those games. And he said, when you come into games, people don't know which team they're going to get. The one that runs up these huge leads or the one that ends up blowing the big leads.
Yeah.
You need to make up your mind on what kind of team you're going to be and understand just how good you are.
Right.
And maybe it took him saying that to us because he was a great coach, by the way.
Yeah.
The guy was phenomenal. So we said, yeah. And we went out, man. We just played like we needed to prove it to ourselves. We played with a swagger. We took on a whole new personality. We go 12-4. We win the number 1 seed. And we win 2 games at home, beat the Buffalo Bills in the AFC Championship game. And we're in a Super Bowl, man. Had the league's number 1 rank offense, the league's MVP, and Boomer Esiason. There was no doubt in our mind. And we end up losing that game to the 49ers, final 40 seconds of the game. Yeah. Great 49ers teams. But it was 3-3 at halftime.
Right.
They didn't hang 50 on us like they did the Broncos the very next year. They didn't hang 50 on us like they did the Chargers 2 years after that when Steve Young was their quarterback. Yeah, so, but at the end of the day, it's been a drought in Cincinnati since those days until now.
Yeah.
Even though you had a Carson Palmer, right? Yeah, Andy Dalton. Marvin Lewis took this team to the playoffs, 7 times.
7 times.
Couldn't win.
Yeah.
Now Joe Burrow shows up with a whole nother swagger.
Yeah.
This guy is going to remind you, JP, I'm telling you, of Tom Brady.
Yeah.
He's got it from the neck up. He's phenomenal. He knows what he's doing. Played in the pro style offense, like what we said, and the leadership and the confidence. And now people just like how Tampa became a destination once Tom went there. Cincinnati is a destination. You talk to Trey Hendrickson. You talk to Chidobe Awuzie. You talk to Larry Ogunjobi. You talk to Mike Hilton. Some of the players who signed in the offseason, Riley Reeve, as free agent. Why did you want to come to Cincinnati? Number 9. They all point to number 9.
That's the Brady effect.
That's the Brady effect.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just phenomenal, but how quickly he's been able to lift that Titanic, right? Able to raise the level of expectation in Cincinnati.
I got to ask you about, because there was a lot of talk about it yesterday at the press conference, the hiring practices for the NFL for these head coaches. I mean, 9 openings and essentially what we have 1, 2 marginally men of color that are getting these jobs. Brian Flores doesn't have a job. I mean, ridiculous. Brian Flores getting fired.
Makes
ridiculous.
Sense. Makes no sense.
What the hell's going on? And how? I know we all want to fix it, but it's just basically changing the hearts and minds of some, let's just say it, old white owners that just aren't comfortable hiring a man of color to head their teams.
Yeah, you're talking a power share, right? Yeah. You're sharing power with general managers. You're sharing ownership of what you bought. You're a billionaire owner. It's just yours. And, I went through management training programs working in corporate America and understood, HR protocols and hiring processes. Most people hire people who they're most comfortable with. They're like, okay, that's why we get nepotism, right? That's why we get this cronyism. Friend of mine, in the job. And what you have to do is expand that pool and expose people to one another so that they tend to understand that these myths, fears, and phobia are untrue. They're just incorrect. That if you want to be innovative and you want to consistently on the cutting edge of whatever industry you're in, you need to find the best and the brightest and the smartest people. And that comes in different shapes, sizes, and color. Might be a woman. It might be someone you least expect, right? Might be someone young. Now, when our kids are coming into the workforce, now we all of a sudden want to hire younger people.
Yeah.
When we were coming up in the workforce, right? Or as we become more solidified in the workforce, all these young kids today, we got, you know what I'm saying? You know, when a young lady comes into the workplace, what is she doing here? She don't know anything about football. But when our daughter is coming into the workplace, now we tend to understand what diversity should look like.
He knows what she's talking about.
People tend to do what they're more comfortable with and see the world only through their own eyes. I don't know what we have to do to get people to understand that Jackie Robinson solved a lot of these problems years ago.
Yeah.
You know, George Washington Carver, one of the great scientists in this country, solved some of these problems a long time ago, right? Martin Luther King, Barack Obama. I don't care what it is. Listen, talent, it's everywhere and in every culture and in every gender. Beauty, genius, we can find it across every race and every creed and every tribe, right, in the world. So when someone says, I don't know if they could do it, look at their record. Look at their track record. Brian Flores has a track record. He's beat Bill Belichick in 3 last 4 times he coached against him. So at that point
it's
now,
hard to get better scoreboard than that.
So at that point for me, JP, it becomes willful ignorance.
Yes.
You know better, you just don't want to do better.
Yeah.
And so I think we got to get to a point now we just start holding people accountable. And we start calling it what it is. And just and say, hey, Stephen Ross, look, if you want to coach in this league, you're going to have to represent better. Because last I checked, you rely on taxpayer dollars. You rely on the fans. You rely on public funding. You rely on the city, the county, and the state, right? To help you with your business. And he go, that's right. Yeah. And that social responsibility for all of us is to give back. Is to give back what's helped to become good. Now, you're talking about paying a guy money to not win. You need to lose your seat at the table, bro.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's all I'm saying.
I think the NFL has done a lot of good things. I think their heart is in the right place, but where they are failing is holding these owners accountable.
You got to go.
Dan Snyder has not been held accountable for what he's done.
That's right.
You got to go. And, I'm sorry, the NFL can investigate, but you're investigating yourself. Owners own the NFL.
And no man is bigger than the shield.
Exactly.
No one owner, no one coach, no one player is bigger than the NFL. And if you're coming in as a new owner, we got a lot of them coming in, JP.
That's right.
Right? Yeah. And they coming in with these ideals that do not belong in our game.
Yeah.
If you think that you win by losing, if you think you're going to find a coach in this league that says, I'll take games for you to get a player, come on now. You just sold the integrity of our league.
And
what
the
is
fact
that?
The B-Flow went out and won games in spite of it.
That's exactly
awesome.
right. I love it. I love it.
It's
Because
awesome.
we're giving up our competitive spirit.
At the beginning of that season, we were all like, this is going to be the worst
Take
football team in history.
Tua and all this other
And
stuff.
what happened?
He found a way to win.
He found a way to win.
And he won over his players with that.
Exactly.
And these guys play hard for him.
What more do you ask from a coach than that?
Yeah. So he shouldn't be fired. It certainly had nothing to do with merit.
Nope.
All right. Or ability or talent or the ability to go out and win games.
Right.
Had nothing to do with that. All these Machiavellian principles and characters floating around the game, it'll cause us to lose our integrity. And what I mean by that is when people watch a game, you need to know that game is real.
Yes.
If your quarterback gets intercepted, you need to know that interception was thrown, but he was trying to hit the receiver. He wasn't trying to do anything else other than that.
And let's be candid about this. Players don't tank. Coaches don't tank.
Ain't happening.
Organizations can try to tank by making roster
But that's why we don't let them on the field.
100%. Hey, tell me about biotricity. This is something that is, especially with a lot of cardiac issues that are out there right now, is very, very important. Tell us about biotricity.
Yeah, biotricity has one of the best state-of-the-art heart monitors known to man. It's an innovative treatment. It's called BioHeart. And again, it has a continuing heart monitoring feature that allows you to collect data. If you've had, say, a cardiac event or an irregular heartbeat, it allows you to track the data, okay, and share that data with your doctor. For instance, I'm wearing it now, JP,
right?
And you can see that it's kind of like an EKG, right? It's tracking
Look how cool
everything
Look how cool
that's
Solomon
going
is,
on with my
64.
heart.
He just
That's right.
cool as
That's
can be,
right.
brother.
That's what you have to be. And so, but look, I can hit record there. This is the app, and it'll record hours of data. Okay. And that way, if my heart has an irregular heartbeat, if it's slow, if it's not doing something it's supposed to be doing, I can record that and share that data.
It's crucial
with my doctor. So it does several things: retrospective snapshots, live streaming of your cardiac data. It's like a examination out being in the doctor's office.
Jump on the treadmill.
But yeah, and you can share that with them. And so all you have to do, if you want one or need one for a family member or a friend, go to www.bioheart.com, or you can go to amazon.com.
Yeah.
But this is great, innovative technology.
A lot of cardiac issues in the last couple of years that have popped up.
That's
so
right.
It's
That's right.
Very, very important. It's something.
That's
And
right.
what does the heart monitor look like? You don't have to show me, but it's
Well,
just, it's not
imagine that
cumbersome,
you're
right?
in the movie like Iron Man.
Yeah.
So it's a strap, it's elastic,
Yeah.
and it just goes around you. And it's right here. You
Can't
can
even see
probably
it, yeah.
can't
Yeah.
even see it. Yeah. And there's a little light on it. It blinks to let you know it's on. But it's just, I'm walking around all day with it.
Comfortable.
And it's comfortable. Look, I barely know it's on.
Yeah.
Barely know it's on. And so most people who suffer from some kind of cardiac event, it happens in the morning. And so you may get that irregular heartbeat, or you may have some heart palpitations or something like that. So you could sleep with this. You wake up, it's going to record whatever.
That's good.
And you can share that with your doctor. There are so many people who may even have a heart attack, and the doctor says, you've had several heart attacks, and they don't even know it. This isn't to scare. This is to monitor your heart health, particularly if you have something that you're concerned about, and you go to the doctor. He says, well, go home. If it happens again, come back. Well, how are you going to record
exactly
what happens? This allows you to do that.
All right, before you go, give me a pick. And what's your heart monitor going to read when the Bengals are driving for the win score?
And if we put one of these things on Joe Burrow, it would even go, it'd be like a bleep, man. I'm telling you, that dude is so cool, and that's why I'm rolling with Joe Burrow. And so that's what we're doing. I'm rolling with Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Who they? Got my boy Adam Pac-Man Jones here in the house. That's right, the Believe in Bengal podcast. This is my man. Go do your thing, baby. Good to see you. All right. So yeah,
Pac-Man side of you.
that's right.
Awesome. That's
I'm
awesome.
rolling. I'm rolling with the Bengals. 30 to 27.
27.
Got to score 30. So 30 to
McPherson
27.
at the gun.
I'm going with the Bengals.
All right.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right.
Man.
All the
Great
pleasure.
stuff.
Thank you.
All right, Solomon Wilcots there in the middle of that interview. Of course, you heard him say that, for Brady, this should have been an easy year or easier year the second time around. But, all these reports coming out that it wasn't, that there was some turmoil in the building, how that plays out moving forward. And I think for Arians right now, there's got to be some decision time. I know he said that he's coming back, but with his health, with the Achilles tendon that he battled the second half of the year, which had to be extremely painful and very debilitating. How did that affect, his coaching abilities? And, I just think there's a lot of smoke there. I don't know what it means as far as going forward, but, is there a scenario where Arians gets moved upstairs and Byron Leftwich takes over, or Todd Bowles takes over and Brady comes back? I don't know. It's a question that may be out there. It just seems to me that, I don't know. As we talked many times, I don't think Brady's done. And I don't think he's playing anywhere else. So, all right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll ask Derrick Brooks that question. Derrick Brooks is going to join us, Buccaneers Hall of Famer, of course, Super Bowl champion. We'll reminisce on the Bucs' first Super Bowl win and chat about the future of this Buccaneer team. Who does he think will be the next quarterback? Derrick Brooks coming up next here, Super Bowl 56. Stay with us. The PGA Tour's Valspar Championship is back in March in 2022, March 14th through the 20th, right in the middle of the best weather of the year and the last stop on the Florida swing. The Valspar has become one of the must-do events on the Tampa Bay sports and social calendar, so get your best tickets before they sell out. The game's biggest stars love the Copperhead course in Innisbrook. Last year, we saw Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth. Wow, the crowds, and another star-studded field is expected again this year. Sam Burns took the title and will defend again at the Copperhead. This will be a full tournament with the return of Valspar Live, our free Saturday concert featuring Chris Young and Big and Rich, and other amenities including Chameleon Cove, the Hooters Owl's Nest, the Publix Chill Lounge, and other hospitality venues. Go to ValsparChampionship.com for tickets. The best premium hospitality areas will sell out, so don't wait. That's ValsparChampionship.com.
Are you selling your home or refinancing? JP here for Greenleaf Title. You choose the title company, not the realtor, and it makes a difference. You want a reputable company that will make sure your title is safe and secure. There are a lot of scammers out there right now, so go with a trusted company like Greenleaf Title. Plus, they will close anywhere, folks, and they will send a limo to pick you up to come to the closing. Yep, the great JP Limo Closing is back. All you got to do is give them a call at 727-258-6005 or go to greenleaftitle.com. We'll set up the limo for you. They'll come pick you up. Heck, we even picked up one couple, took them to Black Rock Restaurant, one of our favorite advertisers, and then to the closing. That's how they do it at Greenleaf Title. Great service. We'll close anywhere. The lowest fees in the business. 258-6005 or go to greenleaftitle.com. That's greenleaftitle.com.
Getting old is inevitable, but feeling and looking old is avoidable. If you're feeling run down, your workout sucks, or your sexual libido is not what it used to be, check out Bay Area Modern Medical Center. That happened to me a few years ago, and I found out I had the testosterone level of a second-grade girl. That's not good. Our food, environment, and stress can cause your T levels to drop. The Bay Area Modern Medical Center can help, and they are different. They offer customized hormone replacement for both men and women. Christopher Lugo and his medical staff can help you restore your energy, your sex drive, and your feelings of well-being. It was a total game changer for me. Over the life of your loan. Now, Scott is an independent broker, so he can shop your mortgage around for the best rates, and he will pay for your appraisal if you mention you heard it here on the JP Show. That's a $500 to $700 value. Scott does not charge the huge upfront fees like the big banks do. In this uncertain economy and political climate, better to have cash in hand now. So call Scott at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show with JP on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, live from Radio Row here at Super Bowl 56 in Los Angeles. We are brought to you by the law offices of Christopher Palermo. Our second hour of the show is brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center, a new way of treating yourself and getting in a healthy spirit as well. Bay Area Modern Medical Center. All right, want to welcome in our good friend here and Pro Football Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champion, national champion at Florida State University. He's our favorite player. He is Mr. Derrick Brooks. What's up, Derrick? How are you?
I'm doing fine, my friend. How are you? This early LA time. You doing all right?
Oh, it came very early this morning after last night's party, my friend. That was one heck of a little shindig last night that we were at. So, yeah, this kind of feels like the Tallahassee days, partners. A little bit of a double Gatorade morning, I can tell you that. So, how was your night last night?
Man, it was fine. I was ecstatic to be a part of honors and, with there the other team to welcome the new members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. On the other hand, I was a little bit saddened that I was not introducing my good teammate, Ronde Barber, and welcome him in. So, kind of bittersweet, but we'll go back at it again and try to get him a part of the 2022 class. But then I went out and covered the young guys. We had dinner, and anytime you go to dinner with young players and me being an appeals officer, I got to hear how many times I don't take care of them or I keep finding them.
Gosh,
not the case, but it's always good to stay engaged with our younger players.
Yeah, you got to be the bad guy, I guess, sometimes. Well, and back to Ronde a little bit. I mean, it's got to be hard for you. I don't want to make you compare your good friend Leroy Butler and your teammate at Florida State with Ronde, but Ronde's numbers, are a little bit better than Leroy, so it's good to have him in. But I do think that since Ronde did get into the top 10, I believe the number is over 90% of the time when you get into the top 10, you get into the Hall of Fame. So are you pretty confident that eventually Ronde will get in?
Yes, and you look at the journey of Leroy Butler. Obviously, that's why I say bittersweet. Another, Florida State guy that I watched set the tone for me, going to Florida State. So having another Seminole is obviously great. And again, you don't say these words, JP, taken away from the accomplishments of anyone that made it, because it is difficult to get in. But at the same time, it's an understanding that, you have a teammate, and as Ronde and I were, teammates for, longer than any, 2 years. We were. It hurts, and I'm not going to lie, because we personally just put a lot of effort into trying to figure out why not, and it does, for me, just takes a moment to step back and say, okay, yes, it's going to happen, and you go back to work, and I work with Ira, and we just try to clean up and penetrate into a better presentation of doing it. But yes, there is momentum, and that's where, when I take a step back from this, we understand, hey, we went from this point on the journey, covered a lot of ground to this point, and the momentum is going in the right direction. Obviously, I want for him to have it sooner than later, in terms of use the word eventually. So that's what we'll do. We'll just, hey, let's focus on the positive here. There was momentum gained, and hopefully he'll get in next year.
Well, Derrick, you would be the best to talk about this. Ira and I have talked about this on the air, but I think it's Ronde's versatility that sets him apart. And just talk about what you guys asked him to do that so many other players really wouldn't be able to do. His unique skill set to be able to, cover a Calvin Johnson or a tight end running down the seam or support the run or blitz. I mean, kind of verbalize what you asked him to do and how hard it was to find somebody that could do all those things as well as Ronde did them.
Well, that's what made our team as great as it was when people come in and try to take, the blueprint of what the Tampa defense was.
Right.
And we always say, hey, you can look at the blueprints, but no one has a part. And Ronde was one of those parts that I was referring to. You will take what we do, it's the film, but the little intricacies of what we did defensively, his skill set allowed us to do that, and that's what made us unique. And he created a niche, for a position that was pretty much unheard of when it comes to, hey, the slot corner that could play inside, outside, anywhere on the field. And his uniqueness of his instinct and his ability to make the big play. That separated him from a lot of people. And again, that's made us who he was, making big plays in big play moments. Very rarely did he miss those opportunities. And that's why I think there's a couple of the reasons why I think he's deserving to be wearing a gold jacket.
Derrick Brooks, Hall of Famer, joining us here. It was 19 years ago that you guys won the first Super Bowl for the Buccaneers, 48-21, with about a minute left. That was the iconic moment of you getting that 44-yard pick six to kind of seal the deal on that game. What was the feeling like running down the sideline with that ball in your hand in the air, knowing that, the deal was done and you guys had won the Super Bowl? What was that feeling like?
JP, all I was saying to myself is don't fall. Not really. I would just say, hey, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall. That one was going through my mind, so I got around the 4 or 5. I looked up at the scoreboard and saw no one behind me. That's when, got in, I turned around, and obviously my teammates mobbed me. And then I started saying some things I wouldn't repeat on air about trying to get them off of me so I could breathe. But that was the only thought in my head, honestly, as I was running to the end zone was don't fall. That was a moment. It wasn't, a moment of, hey, we're going to win it or I'm feeling great. It was, hey, don't fall, don't fall. And I probably said it, I don't know, 10 times maybe in my head.
Well, Derrick, it was a great, and you guys, I guess you'll have some special reunions coming up this year for that team, which will certainly be fun. And can you look back also on this Buccaneers season and what they were able to accomplish again? I mean, I know they didn't get back to the Super Bowl and some were disappointed, but, playoff seasons were few and far between here in Buccaneerville for a long time until you came along. And now what Tom did in this team, the second chapter, it's been a phenomenal run. What are your thoughts on what you saw this season and how it ended against the Rams?
I think I saw a team that was very resilient, stayed in the moment. When I look back, JP, and to say how did this 2021 Buccaneer team get better than that 2003 Buccaneer team in starting the journey again after winning a Super Bowl championship? Obviously, I learned a lot watching this team that we didn't do. They turned the page. They embraced the moment of what 2021 had ahead of them, and they took on that journey, one day at a time. Well, we didn't do that in 2003. We stayed in defending mode versus resetting and starting over mode. And that's what Bruce, to get a lot of credit to Bruce Arians, obviously Tom, as the leader who'd been in those situations, was able to lead this team and have that mindset. And a lot of the coaches, as I said throughout the year, they did a great job of turning the page and embracing the moments of 2021. Now, I'm quite sure you've heard this from things from players that have talked that, hey, even though they've done that, the difference between the two seasons is, they didn't handle certain situations better than they wanted to. The injury bug obviously affected them a lot more in critical situations than it did in 2020, and they didn't play as well. In certain situations as well as a team, they didn't play as well. And, but with all that being said, to make it as far as they did under those circumstances, I say they had a season. If you're grading it, I had to give them an A. Yeah. And if they'd have probably started a little bit better against the Rams, who knows? Would they have made it here themselves? But all in all, I would give them an A and say 2021, outside of not making it to the Super Bowl, like 31 other teams will feel, there's only one team that holds the trophy. But
no doubt.
I would say they had a successful 2021 season.
Derrick Brooks joining us here. Were you surprised that Tom called it quits? If indeed he's calling it quits, he kind of opened the door the other night on his podcast. But were you surprised, as well as he played, I would argue at an MVP level this year, that he called it quits?
No, I wouldn't. To be honest with you, no. When you get to certain obviously points of life, look at things a little bit different. Yeah, and he's again in calling his own shots, so to speak, when retirement happens. And if you're going to go out, you're going pretty much going out on top in terms of his personal performance.
Yeah.
Who can deny, what he was able to do at this point in his career when the game has changed? His game adapted to that. And personally, I do think he's calling it quits and, leaving hints of the door maybe open here or there. I just think that's, Tom being Tom and having some fun with it. But I honestly, personally, I think he's done playing football.
Did you ever think of coming back once you called it quits?
No, I really didn't. Yeah. And it was just more so, JP. When I started to obviously think about, retirement, I truly got excited about the transition that occurred to me. And
right.
I couldn't fully embrace the moments if I constantly look back. I would be cheating myself of what God had ahead of me. And to me, I did not. I even changed things on my daily schedule, such as working out, going to meetings, just doing everything differently than I did with football, to not just make sure my body was embracing the change ahead, but even my mind. So I did not work out the same times that I did if I was playing football, because I wanted everything to be about, moving on and moving forward and enjoying this phase of my life that was getting ready to occur.
Derrick Brooks joining us here. Do you have a pick for who's next quarterback for the Buccaneers? So would you maybe a Russell Wilson, maybe a Jimmy Garoppolo? Will they go with Blaine Gabbert? What are your thoughts? What's the Derrick Brooks betting
well, I
model?
gotta come back on the show a little bit later. But here's, I think, what they were not. Here's the thing about it. They were in this position 2.5 years ago, and they went through a process and determined for that team before Tom got here, hey, this is what this team needed. This is what we needed as an organization. Now they're just going to go back and go through the same phase again. All right, this is this team now in 2021. Here are our needs. Here are our players. Like, what does this team need at the quarterback position in the style of play, et cetera, et cetera. And now I think it'll be obviously a little bit different of evaluation because, your offensive coordinator is now much more experienced, after coaching the greatest of all time. Everything is going to be different than it was 2.5 years ago, just in terms of how they evaluate it. But they've already got a process in place of going through this. And obviously that process ended up with Brady. This obviously process to go through, and we'll see where it ends.
Derrick Brooks joining us here. Hey, Derrick, obviously you're involved with the league in terms of player conduct, but I know you're also very you have to have some concerns about what this hiring cycle has done with the NFL. I mean, I think there was at one point there was 8 African-American coaches in the NFL, and I think we're down to 2 or 3 now, depending on how you look at it. This particular cycle, I think, was disturbing because of Brian Flores, who I just can't fathom how he got fired at Miami, number one, after the job he did there, and then not getting a job. How can the NFL fix this? What's going on?
If I had obviously the one answer, I definitely shared it, with everybody involved. But at this point now, it's about accepting the fact that this is not good enough. We have an opportunity here to be better.
Yep.
And now let's evaluate everything that's in place here to ensure that we evaluate this opportunity to say we don't want to be here again. And that's across all landscapes. Yes, the non-hiring, of Black coaches is very disturbing. And I say now let's embrace doing something about it. And bring in, whether it's education, whether it's policy, whether it's some things, even the commissioner said in his press conference, hey, everything's on the table here. Mm-hmm. And everyone has to be addressed because this is a problem that affects everybody. Not just siloed to say, okay, it's all owners, it's all GMs, it's whatever. We all got to be a part of the solution because we have all been a part of the problem.
Yep. Well, let's hope that they find the magic solution to this, because it can't go on, especially with these young Black coaches that are so deserving. So many on this staff alone with the Buccaneers, with Todd Bowles and Byron Leftwich and others, Larry Foote as well. So many others that certainly deserve a shot, no question about it. Well, Derrick, listen, thank you so much for your time as always. We really appreciate it, and maybe we'll reconvene at this time next year and celebrate Ronde getting in, hopefully. Thanks, partner.
Hey, absolutely. I'll see you soon. Take care and safe travels back to Tampa.
Thank you. The great Derrick Brooks right there. Yeah, I don't know if anybody has the solution right now, but I do think that, for the NFL, it's, I don't know how many more Rooney rules you can make, draft choices that you can give to incentivize owners. And quite frankly, a lot of the black coaches don't want that. They just want the owners to give them a shot. And that's what needs to happen. It's just as simple as that. We know where the problem lies. And I believe it is 23 teams in the NFL. 17 have never hired a black head coach, and 24, I think, are either one or none. And that's unacceptable. It's unacceptable at this point.
I just want to say something after I heard Derrick talk there. And I've heard a lot of you do the interviews with Solomon Wilcots earlier. He talked about it. LeGarrette Blount talked about it. If you're on that other side where you don't think there's a problem, all I'm saying, I encourage you to listen to people actually talk about it who are actually African-American and deal with this stuff. Just listen to their voices. That's all I want to say. I mean, really, it actually, it really is it's hard to put yourself in their shoes. It really is. But when you hear consistently everybody say the same thing, I think everybody needs to just look at themselves and be like, wow, there's a problem here. I really do.
And I know you can kind of look at individual situations and dice it up and say, maybe Stephen Ross just did not get along with Brian Flores, and he owns the team. It's his right to pick somebody that he feels that he can communicate with or whatever. But I get that in some respects, but also it just, on its face, it looks preposterous. When you look at the wins and losses and you look at the situation that was presented to Brian Flores, where clearly the organizationally, they were trying to tank. And I believe Brian Flores. I do not believe Stephen Ross. When it comes to a battle of integrity between those two, I'm picking Brian Flores. And the fact that he didn't get one of these 9 openings is preposterous as well. And something has to change in this league. And like LeGarrette said yesterday, it's nothing against Brian Daboll, that was a sham interview that Brian Flores went on. Brian Daboll's probably going to be a good coach, but we could cherry pick a bunch of other situations, Joe Judge, Urban Meyer. We could go on and on with certain selections of coaches that have been just disastrous. And a lot of coordinators that are not getting the opportunities. So, all right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll hit a couple of these other stories. One involving the transgender swimmer, Leah Thomas. That is quite interesting. Also, we'll see what's going on at the Olympics and a big trade in the NBA that Nick said he wanted to talk about. So we'll do that when we come back. Also, Mike Golic and Bob Golic the rest of the way. We'll have those interviews as well. Stay with us. Homeowners, listen up. Property values have risen in the Tampa Bay area to record levels, some up to 24% in 1 year. It's time to refinance your home and pull out the equity before rates go through the roof. Call my man Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Scott believes interest rates will be over 5 very soon due to the volatile economy and inflation, but you can still lock in the mid-3s, but not for long. This means you can save tens of thousands of dollars over the life of your loan. Now, Scott is an independent broker, so he can shop your mortgage around for the best rates, and he will pay for your appraisal if you mention you heard it here on the JP Show. That's a $500 to $700 value. Scott does not charge the huge upfront fees like the big banks do. In this uncertain economy and political climate, better to have cash in hand now. So call Scott at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Hey, folks, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center, a very different kind of approach to primary care. Personalized preventative medicine, not a one-pill-fits-all mentality. Christopher Lugo and his experienced medical staff are proactive in looking at issues before they become a problem, encouraging a healthy lifestyle with proper diet, supplements, and exercise to optimize your active lifestyle. Rather than the impersonal rushed approach, you will be the only patient and will have our full attention. That's new. Getting old is inevitable, but feeling and looking old is avoidable. Bay Area Modern Medical Centers are experts in anti-aging regenerative medicine that optimizes your body's performance in many areas. So call for an appointment to get started on a journey back to full health and a happy life with a new, modern way of healthcare. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com. JP here for my friend, attorney Christopher Palermo. If you are having issues with a claim on your homeowner's insurance from a sinkhole, storm damage, water intrusion, defective stucco, and construction defects, or any other issue, Christopher is your man. These big insurance companies didn't get rich paying out what you deserve. Chris founded his practice in 2009 with a passion to help all Floridians with disputes where they were forced to take on the powerful and needed a champion in their corner. Chris wants to make sure you will receive the most aggressive and compassionate representations. He has recovered millions in settlements on behalf of his clients facing defective stucco damage and other construction issues. So call Chris, mention the JP Show, and he will give you a free consultation. That's 813-221-5636 or go to PalermoPA.com. He's a fifth-generation Tampanian graduate of Jesuit High School and the University of Florida, and he cares deeply about you and the community. That's 221-5636 or PalermoPA.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's rock. This is FanStream Sports with JP.
All right, welcome back to Radio Row here at Super Bowl 56 in Los Angeles. The JP Peterson Show presented by the law offices of Christopher Palermo, also by Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Check them out at BAMMC.com. Nick Geddes back at our Tampa studios there as going to hit a couple of other stories that are on the docket today. Big trade in the NBA. Our NBA analyst Nick Geddes will tell us all about the big deal between the 76ers and the Nets and how this will change the balance of power in the East, right?
Really throwing that word analyst around, aren't you?
Yeah, I am indeed.
NBA analyst. No, but yeah, so everybody knows James Harden was traded to the 76ers in a huge trade headlined by him and Ben Simmons going the other way. Contrary to what people think, if Ben Simmons plays, the Nets are a better team, in my opinion.
I agree.
Like, I mean, you only have two ISO guys, and you finally have a guy who passes. You have a guy who plays elite defense, which the Nets have none of. And you have a guy who finally doesn't have to be relied upon to score.
Right.
So
yeah, it's a good fit.
I think it's a great fit, but it's also a great fit in Philadelphia because Joel Embiid needed somebody else who could score ISO and not be like a center like he is. You need a guard that can actually score. Now James Harden can go back to being the old James Harden and having triple doubles every night, and they're probably going to be better off. So one of the few times I think it's a 50-50 split, a good trade for both teams.
Another interesting NBA story was the fact that Enes Kanter Freedom was traded from the Boston Celtics to Houston, right? And then summarily released. You think this has anything to do with his anti-Chinese politics that he's no longer playing in the NBA?
I don't.
You think he just sucks?
He does. He plays like 10 minutes a night and is averaging 3 points.
Yeah. Playing 11 minutes a night, averaging 3 points and 5 rebounds, actually not that bad. Just shooting 52% from the floor. No.
Listen, and I don't think it's a big deal that he got waived because he was literally sent probably as a salary dump to a team that stinks like the Rockets, who have no use for him. He goes on the market. I wouldn't be surprised. I'll walk that back because I was going to say the Lakers said they're going to go after the buyout market, but there's no way he's playing with LeBron.
That's not happening.
That ain't happening. The GM is not going to let that happen. But no, I think he probably will get picked up by like some contender. I don't know, like Milwaukee or a Miami. I don't know, like just like a buyout. I think that's what probably happened. I don't think it's really the China situation.
Really? Okay.
I don't.
All right. Well, by the way, the All-Star draft last night, not that I stayed up watching that, but there was a moment on SportsCenter where Kevin Durant had a chance to pick James Harden and kind of just waved that.
Yeah, no. James Harden was the last pick in this in the All-Star draft yesterday.
He's the guy on on the that's what always funny about these draft selections is who's going to go last, and it was James Hart. I'm sure that's because he's injured, right? Is that why?
No, I doubt it. No. I mean, Fred Van Vliet went ahead of him, for crying out loud.
Ouch, man. That's got to hurt. Also, Marty St. Louis was announced as the new head coach for Les Habitants yesterday, and with rave reviews, by the way. A lot of people saying this is a very bold choice by the Canadians. Like, couldn't do much worse the way this team has been playing. It's unbelievable that they were in the final last year and they're as bad a hockey team as they are right now. Not quite sure what he can do with this roster, but
one of the biggest flukes probably in the history of sports, I might say. I mean, they had 8 wins this year. 8 wins.
Awful.
It's awful, but I mean, Marty St. Louis, and you did that great story on him. I think 2004 during the Stanley Cup, and you went up to Montreal. I mean, he's got to be living his childhood dream right now. I mean, not even playing for Montreal, but coaching them.
Yeah. I put the YouTube link up on our Twitter. Go to @FanstreamJP if you want to watch this story. Bob Hansen and I, News Channel 8, we went up there, and his mother and father, his mother's since passed away. Wonderful woman with a beautiful French accent. They invited us into their home, and she goes into Marty's room is still like it was when he was a kid, when he used to sleep with his skates on. This was back in 2004. And she pulls out, this is his first jersey that he played with, and he went to sleep in this jersey. And then she brings out this poster that Marty made when he was like 10 years old, showing like little hockey players, and they were dressed in Canadian uniforms. And he's like, I'm going to play in the NHL one day. And with him on the ice there, it was like, and she kept all this stuff, and it was amazing. And to see that, a kid that grew up in Laval, which is a little suburb of Montreal, is indeed a religion of its own. And then, to become, the head coach of that storied franchise, one of their own that grew up there and made it to the Hall of Fame against all odds. Obviously, the Marty St. Louis story is one of the greatest stories in hockey. Undrafted, small guy who becomes a Stanley Cup champion and in the NHL Hall of Fame. It's an amazing story. What an incredible chapter this would be if he were the person that could lead them back to prominence in the NHL. And he certainly, some of his former teammates like Kevin Weeks on the NHL network and John Tortorella's former coach, lauding his abilities to lead, as a player. And certainly I would think that would transfer over as a coach. NHL is one of the sports where we see players become pretty good coaches in this game.
Yeah. So, nobody knows it better than guys who have played it before for the most part. And I think we talked about it before we went on air, Vinny Lecavalier being rumored about following him there in some kind of managerial role. It's another guy grew up playing or wanting to play for Montreal. I mean, I remember the 2004 second round against Montreal, and it was a dream for him to play against that team, and he couldn't stop scoring, if you remember. How great would that be? Marty and Vinny running Montreal? That'd be insane.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting tandem. Although I can't see Vinny leaving Tampa. I mean, for going back to the cold weather, he loves it too much here. I don't know if he can handle that. If they can make a deal where he can work from home, then maybe. But I don't know. We'll see if that comes to fruition. This story is just chaps my ass, to be quite frank about it. The NCAA has cleared the way for Leah Thomas to compete in the NCAA championships. This is the transgender swimmer who I believe is 6'3" or 6'2", who was a mediocre male swimmer and decided to go transgender and has literally obliterated the competition and will probably do so at the national championship. So he is now favored to win the 200 and 500 I'm sorry. And the NCAA has cleared the way, even though despite the protest by her own teammates at Penn. I just think this is a ridiculous situation. I really do feel for transgender athletes who want to be part of the process and be able to be on a team. But when you're talking about an athlete who They go through these testosterone limiting treatments, but you're not going to change him being 6'2", 6'3", and having a body like a man, which is such a huge advantage in swimming. I mean, his body is shaped differently, and it's much better and conducive for swimming. Just look at his times; it's ridiculous, or her times. I just feel for these other athletes that have worked their entire lives. This is the end of female athletics. This is the end of women's sports in the NCAA. If they continue to allow this to happen, I don't know. I mean, to me, the only solution is to have a third category of competition, and make it fair for everyone. That to me is the only thing that seems to be a solution to this, because this is not a solution. This is absolutely 100% not a solution for girls that have trained all their lives to reach this moment and reach the pinnacle of their sport, and to have someone come in with a huge biological advantage and pretend like it isn't is just patently ridiculous. It's patently ridiculous. This is nothing against Leah Thomas. This is trying to protect the integrity of women's sports and Title IX in and of itself. And this is just a very, very sad development when it comes to this. And what hollow victories is Leah Thomas going to achieve here? I just don't get it. I don't get it. And I think the NCAA is making a drastic mistake in this particular case. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, Mike Golic of Mike and Mike fame will join us, and we'll chat about he was on the sidelines of the Buccaneers Rams game, so we'll look back on that, and he'll look ahead to the Super Bowl, which we will be calling for Westwood One. So Mike Golic joins the show when we come back. Stay with us. The PGA Tour's Valspar Championship is back in March in 2022, March 14th through the 20th, right in the middle of the best weather of the year and the last stop on the Florida swing. The Valspar has become one of the must-do events on the Tampa Bay sports and social calendar, so get your tickets before they sell out. The game's biggest stars love the Copperhead course in Innisbrook. Last year, we saw Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth. Wow, the crowds in another star-studded field is expected again this year. Sam Burns took the title and will defend again at the Copperhead. This will be a full tournament with the return of Valspar Live, our free Saturday concert featuring Chris Young and Big and Rich, and other amenities, including Chameleon Cove, the Hooters Owl's Nest, the Publix Chill Lounge, and other hospitality venues. Go to ValsparChampionship.com for tickets. The best premium hospitality areas will sell out, so don't wait. That's ValsparChampionship.com. Well, it's never been more important to support each other and support local businesses like Italiano Insurance that has been around for over 60 years, serving our community with great customer service and also giving back to our locals in need. Their Metropolitan Ministries Holiday Food Drive was another tremendous success this year. Why call 1-800 number when you can call your trusted neighbors at Italiano Insurance who will save you money? In Boca Grande, 941-964-0400. That's 941-964-0400.
Cryptocurrency is all the rage today. The market cap for the industry is now over $1 trillion. And read about people making millions of dollars, right? You want to get in, but have no idea what to do? Or maybe you dabbled a bit and you want to unlock the real money-making opportunities and don't know how to do it. There are over 10,000 tokens and thousands of decentralized finance exchanges to navigate. So what do? You go to DeFiLava.com. The folks at DeFiLava.com are in Tampa Bay, and they work with you directly to set up custom accounts, answer all your questions, and provide market analysis. Decentralized finance and cryptocurrencies are here to stay and will change the financial markets as we know them. Get in the game. Get the experts at DeFiLava.com and tell them JP sent you, and get their free 2022 crypto market forecast today at DeFiLava.com. Don't get left behind, folks. Make some money at DeFiLava.com.
Pure sports. JP is back on.
Welcome back.
FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to Radio Row here, Super Bowl 56 in Los Angeles. The JP Peterson Show, the only show in Tampa Bay with a live host here in Los Angeles. Although I have to take that back. Our good friend Randy Harris, but that's more of a national UFC show. But so we're talking all different kinds of sports here. Anyway, we're so glad to be here, and we thank our sponsors. We've been talking a lot about them this week. Italiano Insurance, who you just hear, the Bay Area Modern Medical Center, of course, the law offices of Christopher Polero, who I chatted with yesterday about the Rays situation. Hopefully that's being settled now in Ybor City. We'll hopefully get that done in the next few months. So we thank, and the Golden Diamond Source, of course, American Mortgage Services, Scott Fitzgerald. We thank them all for getting us out here to the Super Bowl. One of the great things about Super Bowl is you get to meet some of your, some of the guys that you followed through their careers in the business. And certainly Mike Golic is one of those of Mike and Mike fame, one of the longest running TV and radio shows. I think they did over 20 years with Mike Greenberg. Really an incredible accomplishment. Sat down with him yesterday and chatted about the Bucs-Rams game and some other things, this Super Bowl as well, and what happened to the Mike and Mike show. He was very candid about it. So let's check in on that conversation now. Golic joining us here on the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the law offices of Chris Palermo. Thank you very much for that. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm actually going to stay through a Super Bowl, first time in 25 years.
God, why would you do that?
Because I get to work it this year. Stunningly enough, I always left because I was jealous of everybody playing in it. So I'd be here all weekend. I'd leave like on Saturday and watch it from my couch. But now I'll be on the sideline, so I'm pretty excited.
And you were just on the sidelines for the Bucs-Rams game. So let's dig into that game a little bit. Just first give you the floor, the overall perspective from where you were. I mean, the Rams were kicking their ass. I mean, it wasn't even a game early on.
So watching that game and what a different, I'm normally in the booth. So having the vantage point of the field now, I can go and look at and listen to what different position groups are saying on the sideline. Early on, it was unbelievable disdain on the side of Tampa Bay. They couldn't get a pass rush.
Yeah.
The pass blocking of the Rams was phenomenal in that game. Stafford had all the time in the world.
With the new left tackle.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It was a right tackle. Right tackle. Yeah. You're right. Noteboom was out. Worse was out. Worse. Right. You're right. It was Noteboom. So the protection was phenomenal. They were tearing them up. And then, that game should have been iced without question. And then you lose 4 fumbles and you keep giving Tom. Now, they didn't take advantage of everyone, but you knew Tom was going to eventually. And he did. First it's a deep one to Evans, and then a nice one. Everybody thinks it's going to be a quarterback sneak by Tom inside the 10. Fournette bounced it to the outside and scores. So that became a game, which I was fine with. I have no rooting interest working the game. That became a game that shouldn't have become a game.
Yeah. And then the last sequence for Cooper Kupp, who the Bucs have just had all kinds of trouble with. That last Todd Bowles call that will live in infamy. Great coach. We love Coach Bowles.
Yeah.
But, coaches have bad games too. And he calls a zero blitz and puts Cooper Kupp one-on-one with a safety. Probably not his finest hour.
Well, the thing about that is talking to Stafford after that one, they called that route for the love of the game route.
Yeah.
Which means it wasn't supposed to go to Cooper Kupp. He was just supposed to run everybody off, and you're doing it for the love of the game, right? You're not, but you get one person, your linebacker, that doesn't get the call. It doesn't blitz. He's standing there like in space. So not at all bringing any pressure, because if he's coming, maybe there's pressure and maybe he can't loft it up there. We don't know. We'll never know. But then there's Kupp one-on-one, like you said. There was supposed to be quick pressure, and he wasn't supposed to be able to get the ball off.
Well, Sue, I think the Rams actually misblocked it because Sue came scot-free. And let's give Matthew Stafford some credit. You got Dominican Sue coming at you full force, and he back-footed it. What a throw to Cooper Kupp.
And you see Kupp breaking to the inside, so you're like, okay, I'm just going to loft up there and let on under it.
And then our former kicker puts an end to it. I mean, just in the sense of, I was just surprised that the Bucs didn't go no huddle, didn't like they had done the week previously.
Right.
So the execution was tremendous. They didn't do that. I thought the Bucs got out coached in that game.
I thought they got out coached, and all that said, they tied it up and had a chance.
Yeah.
All that said, you knew when they tied it up, you're like, well, Tom's going to pull this out.
Yeah.
Tom's going to find a way.
Yeah.
And shockingly enough, he had to stand on the sideline and watch the other team pull it out.
Mike Oak joined us here. And speaking of Brady, do you think he's done?
So here's the thing. So when somebody retires, what do all of us do? Speculate if he's going to come back. Tom has already done that. Tom hasn't been out a week. And he said, I'm not saying I'm permanently retired. I'm like, oh my God, dude, are you serious? So obviously it was a family decision. Whatever he and Gisele's conversations were obviously between them. But he doesn't sound like a guy that wants to be done playing. And we know he can still play well. So it will be interesting if it's not in Tampa. Is there another place his opportunity comes? But I was stunned. Not even a week later, he's the one ending the speculation on whether he's fully retired.
It's a little bizarre because, Levante David came out after the season and said there was kind of some turmoil, which there's always a little bit of that on any team, right?
Yeah.
But there was some turmoil in the building. Seth Wickersham, who's a Brady confidant, said that this was a much tougher year than people know, that there's things going on in the building. We're hearing of a rift between BA and Tom Brady. And I'm just kind of wondering out loud, is this Brady's way of saying, look, let's fix it. I don't want to go play anywhere else, but I want to play another year. I'm at the top of my game. So I'm going to retire. I'll leave the door open. So, it's a way of telling the Bucs, listen, fix it and maybe I'll come back. I don't know.
Couldn't you just go in an office and talk?
You think?
I mean, what in this era of communication, there certainly seems to be a lack of it occasionally.
Yeah.
If you got a problem with someone, so I was brought up, knock on the door, go in the office, close the door, and discuss it.
Right.
You still may not agree, but at least you know where each other stands instead of, if this in fact is true, I'm not talking about this situation, but anywhere you're playing games through the media or something.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens, but I just don't get the sense he's done.
I don't either.
Right?
I don't either because he said it.
He's at the top of his game, by the way.
It's not like people say, "Oh, you media people just don't want." No, he said it.
A week later.
Yes.
Hey, a week with the kids. Throw a few
Well,
passes
good.
back.
I gotta go.
Back.
Yeah. Back to
Sorry,
Tommy
Giselle.
time.
It's my time. My Golic doing here. So talk about this game. This game, obviously, Joe Burrow, I think, is one of the great stories of this game, the great equalizer, if you will. I mean, how do you make sense of getting sacked 9 times against the Titans and winning this game? The pressure he was under last game, their offensive line is just not up to snuff against this great defensive line. It's hard to make a case for the Bengals to win, but yet
they win.
With this guy,
they win.
Yeah.
Tennessee sacked him 9 times, should have been 11, and they won. He is the first quarterback to play in the Super Bowl who has sacked the most in the regular season, the first. So they find a way to win. I talked to Jonah Williams, the left tackle, a few days ago to get ready for the game, and he said, listen, we know what's going on. We know the talk. We know we've struggled. He said, but it's not like you can change anything now. You go out, you try and block and execute. If you don't on a play, 40 seconds later, there's another play. We can't mope about it. We got to go play the next play. Right. So, but there's things you can do. Everybody talks about max protect, tight end stay in, back stay in, blah, 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 which can happen, draw screens. But to me, it comes down to field position. Where are you on third? You third and 3 or less? Mm-hmm. You third and 7 plus? Is it obvious passing, or is it you have a more open playbook? 3rd and 3 or less, you can block with 5 because you can throw quick slants, get a first down. 3rd and 7 plus, routes got to develop a little more on the field. A little tougher to block 5 on 5 because if you block 5 on 4 in this game consistently, Rams would destroy him.
Right.
I mean, Joe Burrow is going to get sacked and he's going to get hit, but they've been able to win. So let's see how he pulls out this one.
One other quick question about the Bucs, going back to them and their quarterback situation. Say if Brady does not come back, who do you see taking those snaps? Is it Russell Wilson? Aaron Rodgers? I think his salary doesn't really fit.
What would be tough? Well, I mean, that's what you start doing. I mean, is placing, right?
Yeah.
Because I was talking to people in Seattle, and some want Russ back. Others are saying time to move on. My thing with Russ is, with his cap number, if you can build still a team around him that's viable, do it. If you don't think you can, get rid of him and start over again.
Start over, right.
So, Russell Wilson in Pittsburgh, maybe they got to fix that O-line a little bit. You are kind of ready-made in Tampa with some of the talent. Yes, and that's what these guys are looking for.
Yeah.
A Garoppolo, is he like maybe a Cleveland guy possibly, where they live on the running game and don't have to live off his arm all the time?
Good point,
So it's interesting trying to place these players in different teams. But Russ in Tampa Bay.
How do you think that fits? I think it's a great fit.
How would it not fit? Russ can pass well. He can escape well. Certainly different than Tom in the fact that he'll run around all over the place and skate for you as well. It's certainly, listen, after Brady, I mean, who else? Again, that's a question. Who do you get? You get someone like Russ.
You're
get
right.
another
back.
Hall of Famer. Yeah.
And we do have a Pro Bowl. You have 9 Pro Bowlers on this roster.
Yes.
7 of them under contract.
You got to take
bring in-
advantage of it now.
Exactly.
Yes.
You don't start a rebuild with a fresh quarterback. Right?
No,
Yeah,
no,
absolutely.
no.
So, Mike Golic joining us here. Obviously, you're an iconic figure in the sports world with so many years with Mike and Mike. What's that like now? And reflecting on that time together, that you guys did something that's just will never be done again.
You know, it's one of those where we went into it because I first got to ESPN. They wanted me to do, as we started the National Morning Show with Tony Bruno, who I knew when I played in Philly, when he was in Philly. Loved Tony.
Yeah.
We did that for less than a year. Then I was like, oh my God, I moved my whole family from Arizona to here. And the guy doing the show was left. And then we had 13 different people auditioning for the job. Greeny wasn't a candidate. He was fill-in one day when someone who was auditioning didn't make it. But it was like instant chemistry, kind of the yin and the yang thing. And I think what helped, in all honesty, is when we started, we were carried basically me and Tony in one affiliate, Chicago. We weren't heard anywhere else. So we slowly grew. So when Greeny and I started, we weren't even heard in Hartford where ESPN is. Our bosses couldn't even hear us. So we got to work through a lot of beginning stuff, things we were good at, things we stunk at that we could work on and fix. So by the time a lot of people were listening to us, we were kind of hitting our stride.
Yeah.
And right place, right time. We had a good mix. Then they put us on TV, and it just happened to hit ratings, TV, radio. So now you're making the company a lot of money. So it's out as well. And, you know, it was a great wave to ride for a while. It really was a lot of fun.
Why did it come to an end?
Well, I mean, Greeny wanted to go do his thing. Yeah. He wanted to go do TV, and he wanted to be in New York. And he didn't want, to do the show anymore. He wanted to be by himself, which certainly is his right to do. So that was that.
And now for you, life is
well, for me, me and Trey and my son Mike did the show for 3 more years, and then ESPN decided they had enough of me. And I had a fun year this year. Did a bunch of full slate of college games for Learfield, the Saturday night game of the week. Did a bunch of games for Westwood One. Get to do the Super Bowl. Worked with Mike Florio and Chris Sims on Pro Football Talk.
Yeah,
that I did a couple of podcasts. So I'll kind of streamline that next year. I did a lot this year, streamline it next year, but I can kind of pick and choose, which is nice. I miss the everyday talk. I'm not going to lie. I didn't want it all to end at ESPN, but didn't have a choice. Kind of like when I got cut from a football team, didn't have a choice. But I enjoyed it.
How do you feel the pathway of ESPN is going now? I mean, their ratings have tanked tremendously.
I mean, it depends. I mean, some of the shows rate, some don't. I think it's like everything else. I think people's awareness have gone to other places through COVID over the last couple of years. It's tough to get a gauge on what's real and what's not because of COVID. We thought COVID was going to be over, but it's still going on. Hopefully we're getting toward the end of it. I don't know if things will ever go back to normal, but I think the consumption by the viewer has changed in all aspects, not just ESPN, to different things now. It isn't what it once was, like when Greeny and I are doing the show. It's a different time now.
Well, allow me to go to school a little bit. Been doing this a long time, but I'm always learning. Should always be learning.
Yes.
What do you think the key is to good sports talk radio, especially these days? And things have changed. Politics have come into it.
Yeah.
Pop culture is big into it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying any that's positive, but especially the politics. But,
right.
But it's part of our life now. You have to talk about these things.
You do. If it affects sports, you got to talk about it. Other than that, I would never talk about politics. But you have to at times. For me, it's been very simple. I've never steered away from just being myself. Self-deprecating at times. I make mistakes on air all the time. Acknowledge them, laugh, move on. I never wanted to be the guy that talked at somebody. I wanted to talk to you. I wanted to sit at the bar, have a beer, and make it like it's that discussion. You could be right sometimes. I could be right sometimes. And just do that. And Greeny and I had a good chemistry. Yeah. I was a fan, a writer, and I was a player. And even Trey was kind of the same. And then when my son Mike was on it as well, that was a lot of fun just because of the generation gap and everything. But it was really just, and my dad said it a long time ago. I mean, just you have to be yourself, because if the mic goes on, you try and put on an act, people figure it out.
Authenticity.
And you know what? If the bosses didn't like it and it didn't rate, my career would have been a lot shorter.
That's right.
That's just the way it goes.
Something right.
Yeah.
Something right. Tell me what you're here for representing. Shaq's got a new water.
Yeah,
I've been drinking it all week.
Shaq's a partner in this company, Alkaline 88. The water is fantastic. And listen, Shaq believing in something certainly helps,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
But everybody says, okay, what's the 80? 88 is 8.8 pH. It's basically perfectly balanced water. Ionized. There's a lot of water out there. I get it. So I'm sure people are like, well, what separates it? Well, it tastes phenomenal. Yeah. And one of the big things is for hydration, you need less of this to get you fully hydrated because it's so perfectly balanced. And it tastes phenomenal, but you need less of it. You don't have to chug a ton to get rehydrated. Right. You can drink less of this and you'll get rehydrated because it absorbs, because of the balance, it absorbs into your body a lot quicker.
Awesome. So I've been drinking it all week. It has a unique, unique texture to it. It's so pure.
It's very good. They use
fantastic.
Himalayan rock salt.
Is that it?
I don't know.
Whatever it is.
I mean, it's
like
soft.
on your tongue.
It's very good.
It's amazing. It's good stuff. Well, Mike, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate
My pleasure.
it. And come back to Tampa anytime.
I will do that. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye, Golic. All right. Good to chat with Mike and Mike there. And it's kind of interesting to hear how that ended with Greeny. I wasn't aware that he kind of broke that duo up, because I don't know if they ever would have taken him off the air, because their ratings were through the roof. And I don't know if Get Up, and which has kind of replaced the show on ESPN, has necessarily cracked the ratings that Mike and Mike had.
Well, I mean, Greenberg kind of become the I guess the darling of ESPN, maybe I guess you want to call it. He's everywhere now, more so than he used to be, right?
Yeah, I mean, they've gotten rid of a lot of hosts. I mean,
my only gripe with ESPN really is that every show is consistently the same. When it starts with
really
up, and then it gets to the end of the day, I'm like, man, I've seen this before.
And there's no really diversity of thought whatsoever. Everything is, because let's just face it, everything, so much of this is politics now, and everything's seen through a left or right lens, and there's nobody representing anything right of center in any of their shows whatsoever. And a lot of it gets somewhat tiresome and repetitive.
Yeah,
no doubt. I
don't know if you saw, by the way, but remember when Mad Dog was on First Take, like I think 2 weeks ago?
Yeah,
I told you, I said, man, that'd be a great pairing. Well, now every Wednesday we're getting Stephen A. Smith and Mad Dog every Wednesday for 2 hours. And I saw that. I'm like, I'm interested in.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. I definitely want to check that out, because it might be just something a little bit different. In the show that Max is doing now, what is it called? This Just In? This Just Old and Tired should be the name of that show. It's just old and tired. We've already seen it for 6 hours on ESPN. We're going to talk about the Cowboys. We're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers. We're talking about Tom Brady. Same lineup each and every day. One other story we haven't talked about. We haven't talked much about this game. We got to probably do our picks here, Nick Geddes. Mitch Wilcots from Tarpon Springs will be of the local representative. CJ Uzomah, tight end for the Bengals, is trending towards playing. He's their starting tight end. If he doesn't start, then Wilcots could fill in for him and become maybe one of those guys that becomes a folk hero like Dexter Jackson. Get a couple of touchdowns, you could be the MVP.
Yeah, I think Uzomah yesterday, he was like singing the praises of Mitch Wilcots, if I'm correct, when he was out. So he could be, but who you got in this game? Who you going with?
Man, it is hard not to pick the Rams. It really is. I mean, it's just everything that you know about football is about pressuring the quarterback, right? It's one of the biggest deciding factors in every NFL football game. And this is a mismatch. This is a clear mismatch with this ferocious Rams pass rush. I mean, there's good pass rushes, then there's what the Rams do. And it's a game changer. You saw what it did to Tom Brady. But Joe Burrow has been so resilient against every pass rush. I mean, the Titans got him 9 times. We talked about it a couple times with Solomon Wilcots earlier in the show. And this kid keeps bouncing back and making plays. Jamar Chase, they've got Mixon, they've got playmakers. Their defense, I think, is underrated. But, I mean, even as I say that, the magic of Joe Burrow, I just can't pick them. The Rams have been here before. I think McVay had made some mistakes the last time he was here. I think he's learned from those mistakes. I think they're the better coach team, and I think they're the better overall team. So it's no drama, but I'm going to go with the Rams.
Yeah, the story last year in the Super Bowl was Mahomes just had no time to do anything, right? When you have an offensive line that can't hold up, It's not going to go good for you. I don't care who you got at quarterback. I don't care who you got at receiver. And I know that Burrow has done a really good job of stepping up through all that. But it ends here. It ends here.
Yeah.
Von Miller's too good. Donald's too good. Leonard Floyd's just too good. I'm going with the Rams in this one. And I'm going to say they hang it on them pretty good. I'm going to go 34-17. 34-17.
Yeah, I think I'll lay the points with the Rams as well, 4.5. I'll take the over though. I'll take the over in this game. I think we might have some points. Burrow will make some connections, but I think the Rams will as well. All right, our thanks to Derrick Brooks who joined us today. Really appreciate the Hall of Famer coming on today. Also Mike Golic and Solomon Wilcots as well. And Nick, great job all week long in our Tampa studio. It's been fun hanging out here. We'll have to tell our party stories a little bit later on. Check out my Instagram. We may throw a couple of – I was hanging out with T.O. last night and Eric Dickerson and Lil Jon. You know, that's my posse. That's who I roll with normally. So it was fun. We'll get into more of that next week. Y'all enjoy your Super Bowl weekend, and we'll chat with you on Monday.